Adam Cleary.
What?
What is your controversial wrestling opinion?
I keep this one quiet because you got to be careful who you say it around, because some people either do this or other people will literally try and fight you. But my controversial wrestling opinion is that Kane is better at being the Undertaker than the Undertaker ever was. Like literally every remarkable element of the Undertaker's character or his history or anything, Kane has at the exact same point in time been better at doing it. Like late 90s, right? Undertaker, ooh, spooky, scary. Kane was like 10 times scarier. Like he was burning a fire as a child and couldn't speak. That's better than just like, ooh, he's got lightning that comes out of his hands. Rubbish. In the noughties, he became like a bruiser and like he was still scary, but like in a more realistic bruiser way. Kane just took off the mask and started electrocuting people's nutsacks. Like that's better than just being some kind of bike nonce. And then finally, as Michael Hamford's pointed out to me, Undertaker's got a reputation for being a backstage politician. Kane literally got elected as mayor of Tennessee, Knox County. Kane knows, unlike Undertaker, Kane knows his legacy is a joke, so he doesn't mind. He'll do banter matches with R-Truth, not that absolute shambolic Saudi Arabia stuff that The Undertaker does. Yes, Kane was involved in that as well, but was better in that match than The Undertaker. Didn't end up sat there, did he, going for 10 minutes with his eyeliner like peeling off and his hair all over his face, right? The Undertaker, fair enough, he is The Undertaker, but everything you like about The Undertaker, Kane was better at than him.
Andy Murray, what is your controversial wrestling opinion?
NWA Power is a better weekly wrestling show than MLW Fusion, than Impact Wrestling, than New Japan on Access, than WWE Raw, than WWE SmackDown, than WWE NXT. NWA Power is one of my favorite wrestling products of the past decade, maybe even ever. It is such a charming, enjoyable, different show to anything going on anywhere else in the wrestling landscape. And while it gets a little bit of buzz, underneath the mainstream level, I don't think it gets anywhere near the attention it deserves. A lot of it has been swallowed up, unfortunately, by the recent Jim Cornette controversy, and that is such a shame because while the controversy was earned, and I certainly think Mr. Cornette should have been ousted from his role after what had happened, it detracts from the hard work that people like Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana and the champion Nick Aldis, who by the way is one of the best world champions in wrestling today, guys like Tim Storm, guys like Ricky Starks, the hard work that these guys have put in to establish a show that doesn't aim for 5-star matches and is only an hour long and places a stronger emphasis on characters and promos. The promos are some of the best in the industry. Guys like Eli Drake knocking it out of the park every single week. And slow-burning, slow-building television storylines. You got a guy like Tim Storm, who's not the best wrestler in the world, but because of the way he's presented and because of the way his kind of fall from the 10 pounds of gold and gradual quest to find where he lies, it's made him like the most sympathetic character in all of wrestling. And there's so many other stories like this. A guy like Aaron Stevens, the former Damian Sandow, hasn't done anything in years, and yet he comes onto Power and he's playing this deluded Z-list actor gimmick where he's in this pirate film, and he's just brilliant as this stooging heel. A guy like Ricky Starks, who's been toiling, well, not really toiling, but like on the lower level indie promotions, struggling to generate buzz, comes through this thing and suddenly he looks like the most charismatic wrestler in the world. And then there's Nick Aldis, a guy I couldn't have given two hoots about a year or two ago, but here he is, he's carrying the belt like he's Ric Flair. He's got the perfectly tailored suit, he's composing himself like the best wrestler in the world, like a guy who belongs in the same conversation as Harley Race, Ric Flair, all the great former NWA champions, when in reality, it's Nick Aldis, but it's a guy who's presented way above his level. That's the magic of NWA Power. It's more than a palate cleanser. It's more than a mere tonic. It is the second best weekly wrestling product in the world today. Everyone should watch it, particularly if you're a bit burned out, if you're a bit tired of wrestling that doesn't have characters and stories, and it is snappy and punchy and to the point and doesn't waste any time. You need to check it out. And also it doesn't have Johnny Gargano in it, so it's really good. That might be my real controversial wrestling opinion, actually.
What is your controversial wrestling opinion?
My controversial wrestling opinion shouldn't be that controversial. I don't like Cody Rhodes, or Cody, or whatever he wants to go by. American Nightmare Cody. I can hear the peanut gallery gasping, or booing, or having their hearts broken by this American Nightmare they're going to have to listen to. Cody, in forming All Elite Wrestling, did fundamentally quite a good thing for the industry, even he took away so many things that I love. He took so many guys away from New Japan that I really like, just because he befriended them and showed them a different way. He took away a style of wrestling that I miss deeply in favour of one that is this weird nostalgic, heavy version of a pro wrestling that could be great, but I don't think he can really do. He wrestles in suits, despite pretending that he's some sort of working class hero like his dad. So there's all sorts of mixed messaging.
Find a promo.
You know, the thing about people that defend Cody Rhodes as well is that I can't really argue them down while he's in the form of his career. But then when it's been a career of 3-star matches, that's not saying a lot, is it, you know? Certainly when he was here, where the wrestling's the best in the world, he was nowhere near the best in the world. He's had to create an inferior product to be the best in his world. I don't like the fact that he's kind of a new Labour, sort of neoliberal version of what it is to be a great guy these days. It's not something that I aspire towards to ever be. I don't want to see the red soles of his very expensive shoes when he's doing a run-in that he gets the lights turned out for because it's his own company and he can do what he wishes. I just wish he wasn't around as much as he is. I wish he wasn't so omnipresent. I wish that he would just be honest and admit that the guy he always aspired to be is the ones that pretends he hates. So Triple H is the guy he aspires to be, not Dusty Rhodes, because Dusty Rhodes had the book for a little bit, like Cody's got it now, and he wasn't that big a deal. He was kind of a guy that pushed himself as much as he could, then took a step back. Cody's yet to do that yet. What Cody has done is thought, I see this wrestling world, I love this independent scene, I feel so alive again on the scene, I've got my list and everything. Nah, I actually want to be an executive. I don't want to be a wrestler. I don't want to be a scrub. I want to get my own company. I want to meet Tony Khan. I want to get my own sugar daddy, the sugar man, and just like have this sort of, you know, this kind of like different world. He believes he's entitled, that he should have more, and there's something that makes me feel really sick about that.
He doesn't want to be the world champion.
And then you get his like sort of acolytes that now see him as this somehow other than like everybody else that he currently is. Like one of these days, somebody is going to write a 2,000 word think piece that will admittedly be very well written, but it'll be about how Brandy Rose deserves the spot she's got. And even that's Cody's fault. And I just wish there was so much less of him in pro wrestling than there is now, and we're going to be stuck with more of him for the next 20 or 30 years, history suggests.
Marcus Dietrich, what is your controversial wrestling opinion?
My controversial wrestling opinion is that for years and years, NXT has benefited from the depths of the malaise of Raw and SmackDown. And in my opinion, AEW has brought into focus just how uncompelling, dry, solid a product NXT is. You can never say that of the match quality, but what are they actually doing in the Performance Center to enhance that match quality other than fairly rote Shawn Michaels indebted melodrama? It's PWG plus production values minus the soul plus melodrama. That's the NXT formula. And on the subject of formula, NXT is Raw and SmackDown. The only difference is that it actually makes sense. The way NXT tells stories to me is very uncompelling, dry, tedious, soulless. They book matches in much the same way as Randy Orton structures his matches.
Whoa.
They book angles, in the way that he structures his matches. The babyface does what the babyface should. The heel cuts him off at the appropriate spots in a 7-act structure, and it's just kind of tedious. There's no sense that any of these men have an interior life. They aren't performers with agency. They are clearly being very, very produced down in Full Sail University. A wrestler will win a match. The music will hit. Their rival will emerge from the curtain. The crowd will get off on this big time because they didn't watch PWG as much as other people. They've kind of inferred that they're stars from the performances that are shaped by their experiences on the independent scene, which WWE, being a rank, gross corporate monopoly, has just sort of said, oh, that's our thing. We made that thing. They didn't make that thing. The wrestler in the ring has a very melodramatic, cinematic pose down with the guy on the ramp. And then the credits come up. That's the story. That's generally the story that they tell. And it's lazy. It's lazy. I saw a job advert went up for an NXT writer and I'm thinking, what? You don't actually write stories? You genuinely don't? The fans do all the work in that promotion because NXT doesn't build matches or angles, it builds match graphics. The guy in the ring, the guy on the ramp, they lock eyes, the credit goes up. It's a match graphic. It's not a program, it's a match graphic. And the audience goes, ah, yay! I love this, I'm a loyal hardcore. And that reaction causes Mauro Ranallo or whoever to go absolutely deafening in his voice. And it just becomes this big, majestic spectacle that they really haven't worked towards, in my opinion. There's no interest. And I tell you what, in May, the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that Table for 3 with Rebby Hardy defeated the old 1 hour taped version of NXT in the network rankings. And you know why that is? Because people only ever pretended to watch the weekly episodic NXT product when it was taped. The evidence is there and it's in the Observer. I never saw one GIF. In fact, the rule-proving exception, the one GIF I saw from last year of NXT on my Twitter timeline was Ricochet jumping over the ropes, landing on his feet to confront the Velveteen Dream. Like, Twitter was just completely ignorant, willfully ignorant towards NXT. And basically the reason why it's got such traction this year is because of the move to the USA Network, and lots of people now, because they've got dormant feelings of how much they love WWE bubbling inside them, are now flying the XFL flag.
Fleroy,
Hello.
what is your controversial wrestling opinion?
Well, I'm gonna have to go back to the good old days, you know, the late 2000, the late noughties, you know, back when it was good, but 2009 maybe, 2009.
Oh,
hopefully
God.
Sidgwick's watching this. But I just want to say that the Legacy weren't that bad. They weren't a failure. They were pretty good because, look, when you're in the Legacy, you're born better. And look, if it wasn't for them, Ted DiBiase Jr. would have never got a stage. Like the $1 Million Man's son, Randy Keith Horton led that group, got the championship. We had some good matches, some good triple threat matches. Back when Shane McMahon was a force to be reckoned with, not just some sweaty old man. And also, let's just say for everyone out there, that AEW wouldn't exist because Cody would have never had a good teacher for him.
Oh.
AEW for life, baby.
Wilbon, what's your controversial wrestling opinion?
Attitude Era wasn't even that good.
My most controversial wrestling opinion is one that I kind of believe in, but then sometimes realise I'm being a doofus. But you know, it's just like a sort of train of thought I had one day. Because to me, in many ways, the Macho Man Randy Savage was more important to WWE or then WWF than Hulk Hogan was. I mean, obviously not before the comments go crazy. Because without Hulk Hogan, you wouldn't have the boom, WrestleMania wouldn't have worked. I mean, he even knows what state Vince McMahon's company would be in here today in 2019. But I do think when, let's say Hulk Hogan dragged you in to WWE and that's what got you into it, it was the Macho Man. I felt this when I was a kid. Like, it was the Macho Man who really made me want to stay. That's a great way to put it. So Hulk Hogan got in, but Macho Man made me want to stay because, I mean, they're all colourful characters back then. Roddy Piper, Ultimate Warrior, you know, bright clothes and cutting these crazy promos. But when it came to in-ring work, and I didn't really know what a good match was when I was a dumb kid, but you know, there was just something about everything the Macho Man Randy Savage did that captivated me. I thought it just wowed me, right? And that is kind of summed up at WrestleMania 3. Like, obviously, the draw is Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. You can't compete with that. And really, it's an incredible match in many ways in terms of spectacle and atmosphere. But then you had the workers fight when Macho Man took on Ricky Steamboat. But even then, you know, Macho Man did have everything else. He was, like I say, he was cutting the crazy promos. He had the orange hats, the big glasses. He called himself the Macho Man, for goodness sake. And again, I think I would have got into wrestling anyway. I think I always would have been a fan, just the way I'm built, my DNA, whatever. It's just, you know, aimed at this crazy stuff. But yeah, it was the Macho Man. It was Randy Savage who I was fascinated by him. I was fascinated by him, and I am to this day. Like, sometimes I remember that he's passed away, and obviously I never knew him, I never met him. I was only an admirer of his, but it makes me sad because he's somebody that, you know, should be doing Legends appearances, and he should have been at his own Hall of Fame ceremony, and you know, we should be talking about, can he come back for one more match, even though deep down you never want that because he's going to break a shin. And it does suck. So yeah, I know that it's absolute gibberish and stupid thing to say, but I do know that without him, I wouldn't be the fan I am today. And again, I don't know how long I would have watched for. I think he was a pivotal part of everything that company has done. It sucked when he had that kind of, you know, the distance relationship and we didn't know what was going on. Pretty much when he left what, in 1993 when he was a commentator and Vince McMahon didn't want to use him anymore. Obviously went to WCW, had his last good run there. But you know, when WCW died in 2001, I always thought he would come back. And he never did. And then obviously everything happened that happened. He eventually went into the Hall of Fame after his brother Laddie Poffo cut a really weird speech at the Hall of Fame. But yeah, I'm going to stand by it. I'm such a big Macho Man fan to the point that every time I get a new iPhone, I try and find a cool Macho Man Randy Savage case, but there's just not one that's actually shockproof. You didn't need to know that. There's just a little tidbit of information. I'm going to shut up now.